10 habits that keep you broke versus 10 habits that build wealth. You've made it this far, which means something important. You're not just curious about money. You're ready to change the way you think about it. Because once you see your habits clearly, once you recognize the patterns that have been quietly holding you back, you gain something even more valuable than money: choice. The power to do things differently. To start building, instead of just surviving. Let's keep going with another habit that holds so many people back from ever getting ahead: ignoring debt. Now, it's easy to pretend debt isn't there. Credit card statements come in, and you swipe them away. Minimum payments get made, but the balances never shrink. And it becomes normal to carry debt around like a shadow, always following, always adding pressure. But here's the truth: debt is expensive. And I'm not just talking about the interest rates. I'm talking about the mental weight, the stress, the lost opportunity. Every dollar going to interest is a dollar not building your future. Wealthy people handle debt differently. They don't ignore it, they confront it. They build plans to pay it off fast. They get aggressive when they need to. They understand that freedom starts when you stop owing other people. It doesn't mean they never use debt, but when they do, it's strategic. It's for assets that grow in value, not things that lose value the moment you buy them. If debt has been weighing you down, start by facing it. Write out exactly what you owe, no shame, no judgment. Just facts. Then build a plan. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Just steady. Just intentional. Every payment you make is a step toward freedom. And while we're on the topic of freedom, here's another habit that's often overlooked: waiting for permission. A lot of people stay broke, not because they lack ideas, but because they're waiting for someone to give them the green light. Waiting until they feel ready. Waiting until the timing is perfect. Waiting until someone validates their dream. But wealth builders? They don't wait. They start. Even if it's messy. Even if they're scared. They give themselves permission to try, to fail, to figure it out. Because they know action creates clarity. The more you move forward, the more you learn what works and what doesn't. But if you wait for certainty, you'll be waiting forever. So ask yourself, what's one idea you've been sitting on? One thing you've wanted to do: start a side hustle, create content, launch a product, ask for a raise, but keep putting off. What would happen if you just started? Not with a perfect plan. Just with the first step. That's how every success story begins. And maybe the most powerful habit of all, the one that turns everything around, is taking responsibility. See, people who stay broke often feel like life is happening to them. They blame the economy, their boss, their upbringing, their luck. And while those things are real and can be challenging, they don't define your future. Wealthy people flip the script. They say, I might not have caused all of this, but I am responsible for where I go next. That mindset changes everything. Because once you own your life, you take the wheel. You stop waiting. You stop blaming. You start building. And building wealth isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about choosing better habits today than you had yesterday. It's about becoming the kind of person who makes strong money decisions, not just once, but consistently. Because that's what wealth is. Not a lottery ticket. Not a windfall. It's a pattern. A rhythm. A mindset. So let's take a breath together and just acknowledge something important. You are not stuck. You're not behind. You're just one decision away from starting a different path. One choice to track your spending. One choice to save instead of spend. One choice to invest in your skills instead of escaping into comfort. That's all it takes to begin. You don't need a perfect background. You don't need to be a finance expert. You just need to care enough to change. And if you've made it to this part of the video, then I know you do. So give yourself credit. Because most people don't even look at these habits, let alone work to replace them. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What's one habit you're ready to shift starting today? Drop it in the comments. Let's support each other. Let's grow together. Because money is never just about dollars, it's about freedom. Options. Ownership. If this video resonated with you, give it a like so more people can find it. Hit that subscribe button if you want more content to help you think, live, and earn like the wealthy. And share it with someone who needs this message, because you never know whose life you might change just by starting a conversation. You have everything you need to build the life you want. The resources, the time, the power, it all starts with your daily decisions. Your habits. Your mindset. So here's to breaking cycles, to building wealth, and to becoming the person you were always meant to be. Let's do this together. If you've ever felt like you're working hard but not getting ahead, chances are it's not your work ethic that's the problem, it's the habits happening in the background. And now that we've uncovered a few of the most common habits that quietly keep people broke, let's keep going. Because once you can spot them, you can replace them, and that's when your life really begins to change. Another major habit that holds people back financially is relying only on one source of income. For most people, that's a job. A paycheck. And while there's nothing wrong with working a job, the problem comes when that's the only stream of money flowing into your life. Because if something happens, like layoffs, an injury, or a company closing down, you're suddenly left scrambling. There's no safety net. No backup. Wealthy people think differently. They don't just earn income, they build multiple streams of income. That could mean investments, side businesses, digital products, rental properties, dividends, you name it. The point is, they don't rely on a single stream. They create systems that generate money even when they're not working. And you don't need to be rich to start building that. You just need to start thinking creatively. Maybe you have a skill you can freelance. Maybe you can create something once and sell it online. Maybe you can start small with investing. The key is not to wait until you're financially comfortable, it's to build your financial comfort through multiple sources of income. It doesn't have to be huge right away. Small, consistent steps compound over time. Now let's talk about another sneaky habit that keeps people stuck, comparing themselves to others. Social media has made this one even harder to avoid. You scroll and see people flashing luxury cars, vacations, watches, and it makes you feel like you're behind. Like you need to spend money just to catch up, to feel worthy, to prove something. And that pressure? That's a trap. Wealthy people understand that real wealth is quiet. It's not about flexing, it's about freedom. The most financially secure people you'll ever meet don't need to show it. They're not trying to impress strangers online. They're focused on building assets, not an image. They know that buying something just to look rich often does the exact opposite, it keeps you broke. When you start comparing less and focusing more on your own journey, you gain clarity. You start making decisions that actually serve your goals, not someone else's highlight reel. You stop spending just to feel better and start saving, investing, and growing for the right reasons. And right along with that comparison trap comes another habit that's surprisingly damaging, not investing in yourself. A lot of people feel like they can't afford to take courses, learn new skills, or even buy a book, so they stay stuck in the same patterns, waiting for something to change. But here's the thing. Wealthy people understand that the best investment they'll ever make isn't in stocks or real estate, it's in themselves. In their mindset. In their knowledge. In their ability to adapt and grow. They treat learning like a priority, not a luxury. They read. They study people who've done what they want to do. They pay for mentorship, courses, tools, because they know every new skill they learn expands their earning potential. And often, the information they invest in returns 10x, 100x, or more, because it helps them make better decisions, avoid mistakes, and spot opportunities others miss. So if you've been telling yourself you'll figure it out later, or that you'll start learning once you make more money, flip it. Start learning now, so you can make more money. Even 15 minutes a day reading a book or watching a video that teaches you something valuable can shift your entire path over time. Another habit that drains people's financial potential is avoiding discomfort. Growth is uncomfortable. Saving money is uncomfortable when your friends are spending freely. Starting a side hustle is uncomfortable when you don't know what you're doing. Investing is uncomfortable when it feels risky. But the truth is, staying broke is uncomfortable too. Worrying about bills is uncomfortable. Living paycheck to paycheck is uncomfortable. So the question isn't, can I avoid discomfort? It's, which discomfort am I willing to face to change my life? Wealthy people choose productive discomfort. They lean into the awkward phase of learning. They sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term freedom. And over time, what was once hard becomes normal. Then it becomes easy. And eventually, it becomes empowering. And let's not forget one of the most overlooked habits that keeps people stuck financially, not having a plan. A lot of people want to be wealthy, but they don't have a roadmap. No vision. No targets. No idea where their money is really going. It's like trying to build a house with no blueprint. You can pour all the effort in, but without direction, you end up with a mess. Wealthy people are clear. They know their numbers. They set specific goals. They track progress. They don't just say, I want to be rich. They say, I want to save $10,000 this year, or I want to generate $500 a month in passive income, or I want to be debt-free by next summer. And then they build their habits around those goals. Even if you're starting from zero, you can do this. Set one small financial goal. Make it clear. Write it down. Look at it every day. Ask yourself, what can I do today, this week, this month to move closer to it? That one habit, planning with purpose, can take you farther than years of wishful thinking. None of this is about being perfect. It's about being intentional. About replacing autopilot behaviors with conscious choices. And the more you do that, the more control you take back. Not just over your money, but over your mindset, your direction, and your future. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to be stuck in the same financial struggle year after year, while others seem to keep moving forward, building wealth, even if they didn't come from money? It's not just luck. It's not always about how much you earn either. More often than not, it comes down to the habits you practice every single day. And the truth is, some of those habits are quietly keeping you broke without you even realizing it. You might think, I'm not reckless with money. I work hard. I pay my bills. So why am I still stuck? And that's exactly why we're talking about this. Because sometimes, it's not the big, obvious things that hold us back, it's the small, repeated behaviors that slowly drain our progress. In this video, we're going to walk through 10 habits that keep people broke, and then, more importantly, 10 habits that build real, lasting wealth. And as we go, I want you to think about which ones show up in your own life, not to judge yourself, but to grow. Because the moment you become aware of your habits, you get to choose differently. You get to change your story. So let's start with one of the most common habits that quietly holds people back, spending emotionally. Now, we've all been there, you're stressed, exhausted, or just bored, and that little voice in your head says, you deserve a treat. And so, maybe you order takeout, again. Or buy something online you don't need. Or spend money to feel better for just a few minutes. The problem isn't the spending itself. It's the pattern. When spending becomes your go-to way of coping, you are no longer in control, your emotions are. And over time, that adds up in a big way. You look back at your account and wonder where the money went. And worse, the habit keeps you from building the one thing money truly needs to grow, discipline. Wealth-building habits, on the other hand, come from a place of intentionality. Instead of spending emotionally, wealthy people pause and ask, what's this really about? They separate their feelings from their financial decisions. They find healthier outlets for stress, like journaling, walking, calling a friend, so their money doesn't become a casualty of their mood. And speaking of moods, let's talk about another habit that keeps people broke, avoiding the numbers. This one's huge. So many people feel anxious just thinking about their bank account. So they avoid it. They don't track their spending. They don't know what their monthly expenses actually are. They don't budget because, honestly, it feels overwhelming. But ignoring your finances doesn't make the problem go away, it makes it worse. It's like driving blindfolded and hoping you'll somehow get where you want to go. Meanwhile, wealthy people? They face the numbers. Even when it's uncomfortable. They make it a habit to know exactly what's coming in, what's going out, and where it's all going. And because they have clarity, they have control. Now, you might not love spreadsheets. That's okay. You don't need to be a math whiz to take control of your money. You just need to be honest. Start with something simple. Open your bank app once a day. See where your money is. Look at your last 5 purchases. Ask yourself, did that align with my goals? You'd be surprised how quickly that one habit builds awareness, and from awareness comes power. Another habit that keeps people stuck is living for instant gratification. It's when you prioritize short-term pleasure over long-term growth. Maybe it's upgrading your phone every year, or leasing a car that eats up half your paycheck, or spending your weekend money before Friday even arrives. In the moment, it feels good. But it keeps you from building anything that lasts. Wealthy people flip that. They're not cheap, they just value long-term rewards more than temporary highs. They think about how every dollar can work for them, not just entertain them. So instead of blowing $200 on something flashy today, they might invest it and let it grow into $500 down the road. They play the long game. And that mindset shift, delayed gratification, is one of the biggest wealth-building tools out there. And here's something else you'll notice about people who stay broke: they often hang around other people with the same mindset. That doesn't mean their friends are bad people. But if everyone around you is saying things like, "We deserve this," or "Let's just worry about it later," or "YOLO," it becomes hard to think differently. You start to normalize poor money habits without even realizing it. But wealthy people? They seek out others who think bigger. They learn from mentors. They ask questions. They read. They grow. They understand that if they want to change their life, they need to change the environment around them, even if that means being uncomfortable at first. Because mindset is contagious. And who you surround yourself with matters. These first few habits might seem small, but they're powerful. The truth is, wealth isn't just about money. It's about behavior. It's about choices. And the good news is, you don't need a 6-figure salary to break these habits. You just need the willingness to shift, one day at a time. One decision at a time. Now that we've talked about how emotional spending, avoidance, instant gratification, and your environment can hold you back, let's move forward. Because when you start replacing those patterns with wealth-building habits, your entire life begins to shift from stress and survival to purpose and growth.